You are looking at a $2.5 billion disaster, and it's not from a hurricane or a stock market crash. It has hooves, razor-sharp tusks, and a terrifying appetite for destruction. Every single year, the American economy takes a massive hit because of a single, out-of-control species. We are talking about millions of feral hogs that are absolutely steamrolling over agricultural fields, tearing up public infrastructure, attacking precious livestock, and spreading deadly diseases as they go. What started as just a handful of scattered animals has now evolved into one of the most destructive and invasive mammal species in the entire history of North America. It is a quiet invasion that is quickly turning into an all-out war, and right now we are losing. We are about to break down exactly how this happened and why it is so incredibly difficult to stop. So you are going to want to stick around for this. Make sure you hit that subscribe button now so you do not miss a single chapter of this unfolding story. Let's get into it. To truly understand why this situation escalated out of control, you have to look at the sheer biological engineering of these animals. They are, without exaggeration, built to survive, reproduce, and dominate almost any environment they step foot in. It all starts with their reproductive capabilities, which are unlike anything else in the large mammal world. Most wild ungulates like deer or elk produce one, maybe two offspring a year after reaching maturity at a couple years old. Feral hogs break all those rules. A female hog can get pregnant when she is just 6 months old. Her gestation period is extraordinarily brief, lasting roughly 115 days, which means she can easily drop 2 litters every single year. Each of those litters brings anywhere from 5 to 10 piglets into the world. When you do the math on that exponential growth, a single pair of hogs can turn into a massive population explosion within just a few seasons. If humans or natural predators do not step in, their numbers double in a matter of months. By the way, where are you watching this video from? Please tell us your country or city in the comments and let us explore together. Once these huge herds hit the landscape, their impact is immediate and devastating. Their ultimate weapon of destruction is not just their appetite, but their physical build. They possess rock-solid snouts, backed by pure muscle, allowing them to engage in a behavior known as rooting. When hogs are searching for roots, grubs, tubers, or small subterranean creatures, they drive their snouts straight into the soil and plow it up like heavy farm machinery. They can easily dig down 3 full feet deep into the ground. Imagine waking up as a farmer who spent months cultivating hundreds of acres of corn or soybeans, only to find the entire field looking like a war zone overnight. Entire harvests are obliterated in a single evening, but it goes way beyond agricultural crops. This continuous plowing destroys native vegetation, strips away topsoil, accelerates severe erosion, and even unearths delicate historical sites and ancient native artifacts that have rested undisturbed for centuries. Their destructive footprint extends right into local water sources as well, all because of an interesting biological limitation. Feral hogs do not have functional sweat glands. They cannot sweat to cool off like humans do. So when the summer heat hits, they have to find water and mud to regulate their body temperature. They create what locals call wallows. A herd will roll around in freshwater streams, ponds, and marshlands, churning up clear water into thick, muddy sludge. This process ruins water quality, destroys fish habitats, and collapses riverbanks. To make matters worse, these mud baths become breeding grounds for disease. Feral hogs are walking disease vectors, harboring at least 30 different infectious diseases and over 40 types of dangerous parasites. They carry pathogens like brucellosis, which can cause severe chronic illness in humans and wipe out entire herds of domestic cattle through forced abortions. They also carry trichinella, a parasite that embeds itself in muscle tissue. When these hogs wade through public waterways and brush against local flora, they contaminate the natural ecosystem and create an active biological hazard for livestock and ranching communities everywhere. When you assemble all these pieces together, the insane birth rates, the unstoppable rooting behavior, the destruction of watersheds, and the constant threat of dangerous diseases, you realize you are not just dealing with a wild animal. You are dealing with an extraordinarily adaptive biological force that rewrites the environment everywhere it goes. Faced with this kind of relentless biological destruction, the initial human reaction was pretty straightforward. If something is wrecking your land, you go out there and shoot it. Across the country, sports hunting quickly emerged as the go-to solution. It expanded into a massive multi-million-dollar recreational industry, with outfitters charging big bucks for guided hog hunts, night vision stalking, and wild backcountry chases. On paper, it seemed like a win-win scenario, where hunters got high-octane thrills and landowners got free pest control. However, wildlife biologists and land managers soon stumbled upon a frustrating reality. Recreational hunting turned out to be the single least effective method for actually reducing feral hog numbers. In fact, it often made the problem significantly worse. Feral hogs are remarkably intelligent, highly adaptable creatures with sharp instincts. The moment gunfire starts ringing through the woods, they learn fast. Heavy hunting pressure does not eliminate the population. It simply teaches them how to avoid humans altogether. Entire herds instantly shift their routines, abandoning daytime activity to become completely nocturnal. They slip into the shadows, moving and feeding only under the cover of pitch-black night. Even worse, when hunters shoot one or two animals out of a sounder, the rest of the herd panics and scatters in every direction. Instead of staying put, these fragmented groups trek miles away into untouched territory, establishing brand new breeding populations in areas that previously did not have a single hog. By trying to hunt them down piece by piece, humans inadvertently scattered the invasion across whole new counties, realizing that bullets alone were backfiring. Desperate farmers and ranchers turned to defensive measures. They spent small fortunes building heavy-duty fences, lining property perimeters with thick mesh and barbed wire. These setups easily ran upwards of $10,000 per mile. Yet, these massive investments proved to be little more than minor speed bumps for a determined hog. With their insanely muscular necks and rigid snouts, they would simply find a soft spot along the fence line, plow right beneath the wire, and lift the entire barrier off the ground to crawl underneath. Landowners also experimented with high-tech deterrents like motion-activated strobe lights, loud sonic cannons, and predator call recordings. These tricks might work for a night or two, but hogs quickly figure out the pattern. Once they realize that the flashing lights and booming noises carry no actual physical threat, they walk right past them and get straight back to destroying crops. As if the biological resilience of these animals was not enough, a bizarre human paradox began to unfold. Because sport hunting had grown into such a lucrative business, a perverse economic incentive took root. Certain unscrupulous outfitters and hunters realized that if they completely cleared out the hogs in their local area, their profitable hunting businesses would go under. To keep the business booming, some individuals began trapping wild hogs alive, loading them into the back of pickup trucks, and secretly transporting them across state lines to release them into public lands and private ranches that were previously hog-free. They intentionally seeded new regions just to create fresh hunting grounds for paying clients. State officials eventually caught on to this dangerous game. State wildlife agencies realized that open-season hunting was actually encouraging the deliberate spread of a destructive invasive species. In response, states like Missouri and Tennessee took a radical step. They banned hog hunting outright on public lands. It sounded counterintuitive to the average person, but the logic was sound. By shutting down sport hunting on public property, state officials stripped away the financial motivation for people to illegally transport and release hogs. They essentially cut off the market to stop the expansion. This marked a major turning point in the entire conflict. It made one thing crystal clear. Dealing with feral hogs was not something you could solve with traditional hunting, quick fixes, or simple perimeter barriers. Fragmented, individual efforts were failing across the board. If the country was going to stand any chance against this four-legged crisis, it needed to completely abandon old habits and pivot toward a coordinated, science-driven strategy. Once wildlife managers realized that traditional methods were completely failing, they had to step back and reevaluate the math. Mathematical models revealed a sobering fact. If you remove 70% of a feral hog population in a given area, the remaining 30% will reproduce so fast that they restore their original numbers in less than a year. To make any real progress, you have to eliminate at least 75 to 80% of the entire population every single year, year after year. Doing that piece by piece or one animal at a time was mathematically impossible. This realization sparked a fundamental shift toward a coordinated, science-driven, high-tech strategy. The core of this new approach became known as whole sounder trapping. Instead of trying to catch 1 or 2 hogs at a time, managers set a goal to capture the entire family unit, known as a sounder, all at once. To do this, technicians set up massive circular wire pens or drop net systems equipped with cellular-connected smart cameras. The process takes immense patience. Technicians pre-bait the trap area with corn for days or even weeks, leaving the gate wide open. They watch live video feeds on their smartphones as hogs slowly build trust and start entering the enclosure together. The trap operator sits miles away, watching the live stream, waiting for the exact moment when every single member of the sounder, from the dominant matriarch down to the smallest piglet, is inside the ring. With a single tap on a smartphone screen, a signal fires through the cell network, and heavy drop gates slam shut instantly with a loud mechanical lock. The entire family unit is captured in a single second, leaving 0 survivors behind to learn the trick or scatter into new areas. For the ultra-elusive hogs that manage to dodge these traps, wildlife teams turn to a clever, psychological tactic borrowed from ancient history: the Judas pig strategy. Field agents capture a single hog, usually a breeding female, fit her with a lightweight satellite tracking collar, and release her back into the wild. Because wild hogs are intensely social creatures that crave group companionship, this single-tagged hog immediately treks through the bush looking for other secret herds. Wildlife managers simply pull up a laptop screen, monitor the GPS dot as it moves across satellite maps, and let the betrayal unfold. The Judas pig walks straight into the hidden sanctuaries of secretive sounders, unwittingly leading control teams directly to their hideouts. In vast, thick forests or remote river swamps where humans cannot easily tread, experts turn to molecular biology using environmental DNA, or eDNA. When feral hogs wade through rivers, wallow in mud holes, or drink from remote streams, they shed skin cells, saliva, and bodily waste into the water. Field technicians scoop up small water samples from local creeks, run them through portable filtration kits, and test for hog genetic material. This allows researchers to pinpoint the presence of hidden hog populations in deep wilderness areas long before a human ever spots a footprint or sets eyes on a live animal. When dealing with massive open landscapes like the brush country of South Texas or the sprawling coastal marshlands, ground operations simply cannot cover enough soil fast enough. That is where high-intensity aerial eradication steps in. State agencies and certified professional teams launch low-flying helicopters, carrying marksmen equipped with semi-automatic rifles. Flying low over open terrain, helicopter crews can locate, track, and eliminate large herds in open pasture land within minutes, clearing huge stretches of land that would take months to cover on foot. While aerial operations are expensive, costing thousands of dollars per flight hour, they deliver unrivaled efficiency over wide open spaces. However, success still relies on seamless cooperation between state governments, federal biologists, and private landowners joining forces across property lines. By combining satellite tracking, eDNA surveillance, cellular smart traps, and aerial operations into one unified strategy, human control efforts finally began to gain real leverage against this invasive force. But as these high-tech tactics brought in massive numbers of captured hogs, another complicated question quickly surfaced. What should be done with all that meat? Whenever people hear about millions of feral hogs tearing up countryside across the United States, a very simple, logical question almost always comes up. Why not just eat them? If you have millions of pounds of free protein roaming the woods, why not round them up, turn them into bacon or sausage, and turn a massive ecological headache into a profitable commercial enterprise? In theory, it sounds like an absolute win-win solution. In states like Texas and Florida, entrepreneurs actually tried doing exactly that. Commercial operations set up trapping networks to harvest live wild hogs, shipping the processed meat to high-end restaurants in major cities, or exporting wild boar cuts to European markets, where game meat commands premium prices. On upscale restaurant menus, it sounds like a gourmet delicacy. However, the moment you try scaling this idea into a serious population control solution, you hit a massive wall of regulatory, medical, and economic reality. First and foremost, you have to deal with strict federal food safety laws. The United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA, enforces rigorous standards for any meat sold commercially in American grocery stores or restaurants. Under federal regulation, wild game meat like feral hog cannot simply be shot in the field, butchered on the back of a tailgate, and sold to the public. To be sold legally, the animal must arrive alive at an officially inspected, USDA-approved slaughterhouse facility and undergo a mandatory pre-mortem inspection by a licensed veterinarian. Now, pause and think about what that actually requires in practice. Trapping hundreds of aggressive, razor-tusked, 200-pound wild animals in the middle of nowhere, loading them into trailers, and hauling them alive for hundreds of miles across rural highways to one of the very few federally certified processing facilities is an absolute nightmare. It is incredibly dangerous, stressful for the animals, and logistically complex. Even if you manage to get them to an approved facility, the health risks are genuinely alarming. Feral hogs are notoriously dirty carriers of dangerous pathogens. More than 30% of feral hog populations carry swine brucellosis, a dangerous bacterial infection that causes severe recurring fever, joint pain, and chronic health issues in humans, as well as forced abortions in farm livestock. They also carry trichinella, a parasitic worm that burrows straight into human muscle tissue if the meat is not cooked to exact high temperatures. On top of that, hogs shot with lead ammunition carry a high risk of lead fragment contamination throughout the meat tissue. When you factor in the cost of mandatory veterinary inspections, blood testing, specialized handling, and biohazard protocols, the expense of processing a single wild hog safely soars way past the market value of the meat itself. Then comes the final hurdle that many people overlook: American consumer culture. The average American shopper walking down the aisle at a local supermarket is accustomed to buying farm-raised, pale pink pork that is mild in flavor, tender, uniform in cut, and consistently priced. Feral hog meat is entirely different. It is dark red, extremely lean, tough, and possesses a strong, gamey aroma that requires careful, lengthy cooking techniques to render palatable. Market surveys show that roughly 93% of Americans have never even tried wild hog meat, and the vast majority have zero desire to cook it at home. There is simply no massive consumer demand waiting to absorb millions of wild hogs into the food supply. When you stack up the strict USDA regulatory barriers, the severe disease risks, the high logistical costs, and the lack of consumer appetite, it becomes abundantly clear that turning feral hogs into a commercial food source is not the silver bullet everyone hopes for. Harvesting them for food might work as a small niche market for specialty dining, but it will never be a viable strategy to halt a multi-billion-dollar invasion. At the end of the day, this fight against feral hogs leaves us with a humbling lesson about our relationship with nature. Nature always strives for balance, but when humans disrupt that harmony, the consequences are astronomical. The hogs are not evil. They are simply following their powerful instincts to survive and thrive. The mistake was entirely ours, and so is the responsibility to fix it. True progress begins when we stop looking for quick fixes and start respecting the delicate ecosystems we inhabit. What are your thoughts on how we should manage invasive species? Drop a comment down below and let us know. If you enjoyed this documentary, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss our next deep dive. Thank you for watching, and we will see you all in the next video.